it is time for kind of a weekly reading plan, kind of a TBR, kind of a discussion, something along those lines. Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm super excited to be here today and to share with you this video. This is going to be specifically what I plan on reading this week, but more generally a little discussion on sort of like how I came up with what I decided to read this week, because it is a little bit different than my normal reading plan and my reading plans, which I do have a video on if you're interested in. It's from a couple years ago. I'll put it up above. But I do, generally speaking, follow that plan. But this week I decided to do something a little bit different. It's not like hugely different, but it's a little different. And so I thought I would share. So my plans for the month for August have simply been to do the same thing that I was doing in July, which is one, to enjoy the library. So most of these are library books. Yep, most of them are library books except for when I'm reading digitally. And then also to enjoy the Olympics, which I have been doing. It's been a lot of fun. I've been watching prime time. I've been watching sort of like jumping between different events, especially when the Canadians have been on. There's been a lot of swimming that has been great. I've been recently watching a lot of the athletics, which is track and field. I don't know why they switched it to athletics, which is interesting because I don't follow it as much, and they jump around between different events and lots of things are qualifiers. It's the first time I've seen a steeplechase, which I was like, what? And I watched some of the sailing, but my goodness gracious, the fact that they are perpendicular to the boat and parallel to the water, it's just like, wow. Absolutely astonishing. I'm still catching up on some of the judo. I just have to watch the last day. I watch a lot on replay because a lot of what I want to see is in the middle of the night, like 4 to 7 in the morning, which is the one time slot. I can't really get to it from either end. So I have just the last judo to watch, which is the mixed teams, which I watched the first just to get a sense of it, and it is fascinating. So anyway, but I'm going to talk about books, not the Olympics. So what I decided to do this week, because I just wanted to enjoy library books, and because it's the beginning of the month, I'm not in a huge time pressure, I don't think. I have some stuff I want to return to the library, but I feel pretty like a little more open. So what I decided to do was simply to pick one title for each of the what I call priority categories that I have, or types of works, whether it's a genre or a style or a format, or just some kind of like definition that I came up with myself. And these are the kinds of things that I only like to read one at a time. So that's what I decided to do. So I just came up with this list a little while ago, and it is pretty similar to how I used to do my TBR like years ago, like 3 years ago, and I would just pick one title per category. So what I did was I picked my primary TBR, so like the books I plan on reading, and then I do have my backups, and these are the next in line, the next in queue for if I finish the primary title, so that even if I finish the book, I don't have to do any thinking throughout the week. I just go, yay, I finished something, mark it on, my spreadsheet and Goodreads, and then pick the next book, because these are the types of works that I like to read, or I find important to read, or I think I like, or I don't know. Anyway, they're the categories I came up with. So I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then there's a couple other parameters that I hope naturally sort of fit in, but I'll get to that if there's time. So the first category I came up with is the one that I find the hardest to describe. Sometimes I just call this fiction. Sometimes I call it adult fiction, but that's not true. Sometimes kids fiction fits into this. This is really more of like a focused read. This is a book that is more challenging to read, something I want to stick with from beginning to end, something that is like either more challenging in content or in comprehension, or perhaps both, or perhaps the genre makes it so that you really want to stick with it from beginning to end, which is the case with the one that I'm reading right now, which is Affliction by Russell Blanks. It also could be a classic, but not necessarily, because some classics I don't find too hard, like plays I don't find too hard. Anyway, I'm getting off track. So this is my focused fiction or adult fiction or novel reading, whatever. This is my harder choice, my more challenging choice. It says it's a mystery. I'd say it's more of a thriller so far. There is definitely something that happened that has been alluded to, but we don't know what it is yet. It's from the perspective of the brother of the person who did or was done to whatever, like the subject, the narrator, I guess, is the protagonist's brother. This is set in New Hampshire, I think, during a deer hunting season. I'm a little nervous now that I've read it. I'm only 20 pages in. I'm a little nervous at where this is going to go in terms of what happens. It definitely feels more and more ominous as time goes on. I'm reading this because it was made into a film in the late 90s that won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, and I'm trying to read more book-to-film adaptations that are Oscar winners, and so that's why I picked it. And so I finished my other novel, reading novels, adult fiction, harder to understand. Not harder, I'm still struggling with describing. Hopefully it makes sense. It means it's hard, it's more effort on my part is really what it means. So, and I actually quite enjoy the writing style, but because it's also like a mystery thriller, I definitely feel like it's good to pick and stick with this one. I would love to finish this in the next 3-ish weeks so that I'm returning it to the library, not this time, but the next time, provided there's no holds on it. I hope nobody decided to put a hold on it because I would like to renew it. I think the library just has this one copy, so don't hold it, at least not until a week from now. So yeah, so that is my focused read. I did not pick a backup. There's nothing in the queue for this one. I don't anticipate finishing that this week. No way. Next up, a genre that I always like to have something on the go is romance. For that, I am currently reading Mr. Malcolm's List by Suzanne Allain. This is actually also being adapted to a film. I haven't looked into that. I want to finish it. I'm only 60 pages from the end. I just have 5 more chapters. I was reading it very consistently for a fair amount of time, and then all of a sudden, I just wasn't picking it up. I don't know what was going on. I just wasn't picking it up. I guess I was getting close to the end of a lot of things, and this one just fell off the roster. I do imagine finishing this in the next couple of days, so I did pick a next in queue for this one, and that is Fire and Ice by Rachel Spangler. This is a female-female romance about a reporter and a curling skipper. And who has, I think, dreams of Olympic gold. So, and I actually put on this read finished after genre, which is just like a short form for finish the other romance first. So I'm looking forward to reading this one. This was in the LGBTQ plus grab bag, and this was in the romance grab bag, so that I got from my library trip. So this one I renewed, and I'm hoping to get to it next. So that's the first one in the queue. And then I have YA or kids novel, which I keep different than YA, like kids younger title like Goosebumps or Picture Books or something like that. This is like novel, and I put YA and kids together because a lot of middle grade is like 300 to 500 pages. So to me, that is not that different from YA in terms of how long it takes me to read, and that's the parameter I'm giving myself. For this one, I am reading X-Files Agent of Chaos by Garcia. I started this just a couple days ago. It follows Mulder as a 17-year-old, I think, and I imagine it's gonna have a mystery in it, and so I am not tons of the way through, but I do hope to finish this week. It's been fun. There's been a couple of things that have kind of been like, I'm not sure if that's really how that happened, or that's not how I remember it from the show, but I'm letting that pass. I'm not so well versed in the show that I can say for certain, and I'm not so invested that I want to look it up. It's fun to enjoy the world more, and so I am. So that's mine. I also have, for this one, I do have in the queue, or as an alternate, the Meet the Austins by Madeleine L'Engle. I am not sure I'm going to enjoy this one, though, so like I could have either or, and then when I sat down to read, I did read Agent of Chaos. I have a feeling I might not like this, and I wouldn't want to not like a work from this author because they wrote A Wrinkle in Time, and I really want to finish that series. So there's nothing wrong with this. It's actually quite compelling. I'm concerned it's a little religious, and I just don't feel like that. So I have a feeling this is next in queue, but I don't think I'm going to get to it. Next up, I have a nonfiction memoir, which is, I know, a bit redundant. I could just say memoir, but I don't know. I put all my nonfiction together. So the memoir I'm currently reading is actually Photobooth, a biography, but it's a biography of the item. what would you call, object, machine of the photo booth. But it is, I would also say, it feels also like a memoir of the author. It's interspersed with the history of the photo booth, but also the author's experience of using photo booths, finding other people who collect photo booth pictures, and boothing, like actually going to the photo booths and taking pictures. So I do feel like it fits. So that's my current read. It is, it's a graphic memoir, so but it's actually got lots of text in it, so it's taking me longer to read than other graphic memoirs. It's been really interesting so far, and the author is also Canadian, so that's also a bonus. But because I think I'll finish that, and because it's a little creative inclusion, I did pick a backup or in Q, and I'm actually just reading these at the same time, so I'm just breaking all of my own rules, and that's because I just really want to read it. And that is North by Northwestern, A Seafaring Family on the Deadly Alaskan Waters by Captain Sig Hansen from this is from, Sig Hansen is one of the captains who is on The Deadliest Catch, which is a reality TV series. I was going to say competition series, but it's not really. The show doesn't set up the competition. This is about the Alaskan crab fishing industry, and the show follows captains in that. And this is a autobiography memoir of Sig Hansen, and I'm really, really enjoying it. So, but actually, it's funny, reading this and Affliction at the same time, I'm feeling like they're a bit dude heavy, especially because this at the beginning he talks about really wanting to be a man like his father is, and so they're reading them at the same time is like, okay, that's a lot of dude energy. Next up for the next category is nonfiction artworks or nonfiction art books, which I always like to have one on the go, or at least I want to read one a month. It's one of my priorities, like big priorities in terms of my overall reading. And currently I'm reading About Design by Gordon Salto. This is Insights, Provocations, and Graphic Design Enhancements for graphic designs enthusiasts. Sorry, backwards reading sometimes it is not 100%. I'm really enjoying this. This one's about the principles of design. I love the foreword, which it was by one of the students of the author, and he talked about his art school experience with him. It was really interesting. Yeah, this is a pretty fast read, but I started this for Grinchathon, and it technically is a very fast read, and the author even says, like, kind of like, I encourage skimming, which is interesting to hear from an author saying, and there are a lot of design elements on the pages, but it's not the kind of thing that I want to read all in one go. Like if he's talking about shape or line or point, I want to like think about that for a bit. So I tend to read a chapter at a time and then let my brain keep going. And then I have my next in queue for this one is Cubism by Anne Gontifer Trier. Not getting that right. And this is just a short book about Cubism. So I am looking forward to getting to that. I've read a fair few of these Taschen nonfiction artworks. I like it as a nice, it's very quick-ish, yeah, so I'm looking forward to that, and those are obviously, almost all of these are from the library. I also picked nonfiction general, which I think is one too many, because I think a lot of these I'm going to finish the work I'm reading and then go on to the next one, so that's 4 nonfiction, but I did pick one, and that is Edmund Burke's A Philosophical Inquiry. The longer title is Into the Origin of Our Ideas of the Sublime and Beautiful. I did start this a while ago. I haven't gotten back to it. It is old. It's like 1750. And I'm interested in this from a critical thinking perspective. I need to make it over the hump of the introduction, which is another sort of 10 pages, because then it gets to very short chapters of, say, novelty. And then, what's the next one? Pain and pleasure. Oh, that would work for the pain and joy tag. Delight and pleasure. So I'm really curious about this one. So I am going to keep going on that. I didn't pick a backup for that because I think I did actually, but I think that's well more than enough. Then the next thing is urban fantasy, which I forgot to pick up a title for. For this I am going with, because I love urban fantasy and I feel like I'm not reading as much as I would like. When I look back at my reading, I'm like, wow, there's almost no urban fantasy, and what I have read this year has often been middle grade or graphic novels or comics, which is great, but it's like my favorite genre, and I have 5 nonfiction, which is my other favorite genre, so I think I need to even things out. So for this I picked Sweep and Peace by Alona Andrews. It is the second in the Innkeeper Chronicles series, which is one that I would like to catch up to or finish, or I need to I'm rereading so I can continue. So I need to reread Sweep and Peace so I can read the third one. And then I also have visual works, so graphic novels, comics, manga, what have you. I did already finish my first title, yay, which was book 5 of the saga of Swamp Thing. I'm not loving it. I really enjoyed it at the start, but I didn't enjoy book 5 very much. But initially it was just 6 books for this arc, or pulling this arc out of Swamp Thing, so I am going to continue and finish that one. But then I also have Usagi Yojimbo book number 3, and these are also collections of comics, and I really, really enjoy it. They're long though. These are like 500-600 pages long, so there's a lot to them. And I did also pick up a bunch of so Usagi Yojimbo was my next in queue, but I also have Fresh Romance, which I got out of the library, which is a collection of romance graphic novels or comics. Or they might be one-shots, I'm not sure. So, wow, that looks like it'll be pretty fast reading, so, ooh, nice hats. Okay, so those are my reading choices. I did also want to make sure with all of these, a lot of these are physical, so I did want to make sure I had some on my Kindle and some on my tablet. So on my Kindle is Sweep and Peace, which is great, and then on my tablet is a bunch of more, Usagi Yojimbo is on that, and then I have a bunch of stuff from Hoopla that I used all my credits at the end of the month so that I could pick some titles for my A to Z graphic novels and comics challenge, because I am actually getting pretty close on that, and so hopefully that will be something that I can finish maybe even a bit early. We'll see. Some letters are always tough. There's some letters that are always tough. But yeah, so that is my plan for the week. I feel like this is incredibly ambitious, but yesterday was my first day working on it, and for the primary picks I read 120 pages, and then for the backups or for other stuff, because I finished the saga of Swamp Thing and then I read a comic that wasn't on my TBR. And then for my backups I read 41 pages. So that's pretty good, but I spent a good centered amount of time. It's a little weird because normally with my TBR for my weekly planning, I go from the perspective of these are the things I want to finish, these are the things I want to continue, and these are the things that I want to start. So this is completely different from that, but I am working with the types of my priority categories, and I think that will work well. There's a couple that didn't fit in this week, like kids books, like younger kids books like Goosebumps, or even younger like picture books. I didn't have any this week, and that's fine. And then I also sometimes want to include plays, poetry, or collections, which can sometimes be this adult fiction focused reading, more challenging works. It depends on what it is. If it's a collection, probably. Poetry, maybe. Poetry is pretty quick though, but a play, it would depend on the play. I have, like, if it's an author that I've read a lot from before, then maybe not. So, but if it's an author I haven't read before, maybe, I don't know. So, but I think that was also good to know, is that I'm not using every single category. This may be wildly ambitious. It does feel wildly ambitious, like even just looking at the piles, like, you know, like there's like that's the backup pile. But my plan isn't necessarily to finish everything. But so I wonder what that reading experience will be like when the goal isn't finishing. Like, this is definitely continuing. So this I want to finish. This I can probably finish. This I can probably finish. And this I can probably finish. So I think, and that brings me down to these two. I didn't pick backups for them. And then once I finish those, I have these to go to. I think it'll work. It feels logical and fun at the same time, which are two things that I enjoy, logic and fun. They don't have to be separate from each other. They can be friends. So anyway, let me know. What do you think? Do you think I will have, I think I have a shot? Do you think this will work? I don't have my last card. There it is. Do you change up your reading plans and styles? Like, this is really going back to how I used to do my monthly TBRs. So it's a bit weird for it to be weekly, but I also feel like very centered in the fact that I know what I'm reading. Once I finish something, I can just pull the next. The only wrench in the works would be if any of the things I'm not going to finish in the week, I can't renew. That will upset my plans. But maybe not. Maybe I just, I note where I finished, and then I go to the backup and try not to be upset. So far, this time with going to the library, I have been able to renew everything that I've wanted to renew. I don't pick the newest releases, so I think I've been pretty lucky at renewals. So fingers crossed I'll be able to renew what I need to renew. And my pile of returns is big. I've been doing quite well. So I hope this was fun. I feel like I should do a wrap up, but I just wasn't quite in the mood. This felt like more fun to talk about. So we shall see how things go. Let me know, do you change up your reading plan style every once in a while to try things out? Have you had success with that? And I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.